All right, everyone. Trump is scoring a win here. Link in the description, archived, of course. The National Guard has begun deploying to Los Angeles. This is a win. 300 troops have already arrived. I think he was calling for 2,000 actually in total. There is a problem, though, which is that the National Guard is going to have to be deployed elsewhere as well, because this is definitely centrally made. This is not an organic sort of movement or anything like that. This is not just a bunch of people who said, I hate what the administration is doing. I'm going to impede them. No, this is centrally funded. As I explained before in my last video, there are literal communist groups that are funding these riots. Therefore, they will almost certainly break out in other areas. It'll be like a George Floyd Summer of Love sort of thing. So Wendy's will burn, self-driving cars will be burned, etc., etc. So Trump is going to have to mobilize the National Guard in more than one area. The problem is that when he does this, it's sort of a trap in some essence because he's going to be called dictatorial. They're going to say he's being authoritarian. Oh my God, he's sicking the military on private civilians, even though it's justified. Of course, there's a difference between a protest and a riot. Protest, people standing on the street corner with signs. People who are linking arms and singing Kumbaya. Maybe they get detained briefly, but it's not really a meaningful crime or anything like that. Something along those lines. What's happening right now is that people are lobbing Molotov cocktails and throwing bricks at the cops. That's no longer a peaceful protest. CNN can call it mostly peaceful or something like that. It's fiery, but mostly peaceful. Of course, that's perfectly fine. They can term it that, but at that point it has devolved away from a protest. For example, J6. Liberals should probably take note of this particular analysis. J6 initially was a protest when a small number of people broke away from the main crowd and decided to begin sparring with the police. It was no longer a protest. It was a riot, or at least an unlawful protest. Um, and while most of those people were not acting in a violent manner, and later on, many of these people were allowed into the Capitol by the guards at the Capitol, and so, they should face no charges at all. While that was true, it had devolved into a riot. It was no longer lawful. It wasn't people holding signs. It was people sparring with the police and breaking windows and things of that nature. The National Guard should be deployed to Los Angeles. I fully support this. Um, Also, any sane person would. But you're going to have to deploy them and to deploy them elsewhere because there's no possibility that this protest activity, because it is centrally planned by groups that have an axe to grind, politically speaking and otherwise, it's impossible that they're going to remain just a Los Angeles thing. It's going to spread, and you're going to have, again, another summer of love. How wonderful. Yeah, it's exactly what the country needs at a time when its economy is still ailing and recovering from Bidenomics and so forth. I wouldn't be surprised if the Biden family weren't involved with it in some fashion, actually. You'll call it a conspiracy theory, maybe, but I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if some unipartyist liberals weren't bankrolling some of these groups. In fact, I'm certain of it. I'll just claim it outright because it's so goddamn obvious. Um, as far as the troop deployment, I think having a bunch of dudes in body armor wielding, actual assault weapons as opposed to the faux assault weapons available to the public on the street corner probably dissuades people from doing anything nasty. But you can't guard every street corner. That's the whole problem. So, you can expect more National Guard troops to be deployed elsewhere because If the left presses its advantage, and this is coming from the far left, they're not simply going to give up because of one area being guarded. They'll simply move to a different area, which is, sort of their forte. They're better organized than the right wing with regards to this kind of movement. The right wing is more organic, more homegrown, so to speak. The left wing, though, is much better funded because these antagonists are funded specifically by corporate movements and organizations with a lot of money from corporations. And so they're used effectively as nothing more than pawns in order to overwhelm what they perceive of as the enemy, to cause trouble, to cause panic, and to cause a reaction. That's what the left has been doing for a very long time. Again, I noted in my earlier video, really the peak of this sort of activity is in the early 1900s. It's in the 1910s and 20s more than anything else. Bomb throwing anarchists and shit like that. You still have it now. This is nothing compared to what we've already suffered through. Will our country survive? Yes. Is it difficult to deal with people who are completely irrational and insane? Yeah, it's difficult to do so. We'll have no choice. And as far as deploying the troops, 300 troops is not going to be enough to quell the insurrection. 2,000, that might do it. Instead of sending in the National Guard, though, you should send in the U.S. Marines. Just have them on every street corner in Los Angeles. Los Angeles will be very, very peaceful, very, very quickly. That's about all. Peace out.